The President's Coming, Part 1 is the 25th episode of the 5th season of The Golden Girls. This is directed by Lex Passaris, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts, but there's not a tremendous amount to spoil because it's another mostly compilation episode, and the clip selection is good. There are some genuinely very funny clips in this. The new material, and I'll talk about the episode in a moment, is very good, but The Golden Girls has a habit of constantly doing these compilations. I feel like they do one every season, and I want fresh material. Obviously, I know that today it's much easier for us to binge watch many episodes. Granted, back in the day when this was first broadcast, in the 90s, very early 90s, people wouldn't have had the content on demand, so fair enough, but that still doesn't mean that I enjoyed it very much. But as I said, there are some good moments. To make a very long story short, the president is visiting Miami, and he wants to visit a house. He wants to visit a normal family as part of his tour there, and there's been a surveillance on Blanche's house, and they've decided that they're finally going to tell them about this, and they're interviewing them to find out whether or not this is a suitable stop for the president. And it does feel a little last minute because the president is going to be in Miami imminently, so it's a little bit last minute, but this agent, played by Timothy Stack, comes to the house and begins to interview them, and he starts off with interviewing Blanche, and then we get some clips of Blanche, and that's when I realised it was a clip show. And once Blanche's interview is over, well, there was a very funny exchange because she said to the agent, "If you need to know anything else about me, I have pictures." And the agent, without missing a beat, "So do we." Obviously because they've been keeping a watch on the house, but I found it to be a very funny response. And then he interviews Rose, and he asks her to tell him about St. Olaf. And her face was amazing, because as she said, nobody's ever asked her to tell them about St. Olaf before. And then we get some Rose stories. And again, the clip selection is fine, but it's 2025. I have seen all of these clips relatively recently, so it's not really the fault of the episode. But that being said, did they release the VHSs at the time? I'm not sure. But either way, I feel like it's always better to have a new episode. And I don't mind the occasional compilation episode, but this is something that they've done quite frequently, so I was just getting a little bit bored of it. And then Dorothy wants to criticise the president for not caring about education, and then we get a very poor transition into the Dorothy theme. Well, they're not all Dorothy themed actually, but the clips after Dorothy, the transition there was really bad, very badly done. And then the clips, again, they were okay. I feel like they were maybe clutching at straws a little bit here. The clips with Rose and Blanche, Rose and Blanche felt a little bit more believable. It felt like they were meant to be there. The clips with Dorothy, or after Dorothy was speaking, felt a little bit forced, so I didn't think that was very good. And then we find out that the agent has decided the president wants to visit just a more normal, typical household. And they say, "But we are typical." And then we get some clips. And again, I don't think the clips really illustrated things very well. I don't think the selection there was very effective. So the first two batches of clips were brilliant and very fitting with what was happening. The third and fourth batches of clips were still good, and some of them were very funny, but they didn't really fit in with the episode quite as well. I think they were maybe running out of clips at that point. And then we end the episode with the agent saying, "The president's coming to your house tomorrow." Everybody's excited. And of course, tomorrow the president will arrive. And I have no idea what to expect. I feel like this didn't need to be a two-parter. We absolutely didn't need the interviews because, as I said, I don't care about the compilations. And they could have just started off the next episode with, receiving the information that the president wants to visit. He's chosen that house, and on we go with the narrative. So I don't know what to expect with the next episode. I'm hoping it's not another compilation, but I also don't know what's going to happen. So time will tell. I'll find out in due course. For now, I can say The President's Coming, Part 1, has some funny moments, but it's yet another compilation, and I am aware that it might not have been as bad in the 90s when it first aired, but after multiple episodes where they're just compilations, it gets a little old, so it feels lazy. It definitely feels very lazy, but nevertheless, there are some good moments, and some of the new material was funny, and ultimately, I'm quite curious to see what's going to happen with the next episode.